the best Doncaster match you've ever seen that maybe on the TV? Then is there another answer to that one, or have you been lucky enough to be? Have you been present at all these?
I've been really lucky, really, because like I say, I went to Wembley, I went to Cardiff. You know, recently in the FA Cup when we played Crystal Palace, I was there.
Oh yeah.
I've been lucky enough to sort of go to the biggish games, really. You know, like I said, the game, the first game back in the Championship after beating Leeds at Derby County, who were a Premiership side the season before. I went to that game and we won 1-0 there. So I've generally been really lucky and been able to get to most of the big games as a Rovers fan. Yeah, so
yeah. So I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll ask you then. You've been to a lot of away matches, and Doncaster at the minute have got a phenomenal stadium. And with the greatest respect and no offence meant, they used to have an absolutely terrible stadium at the Bellevue before it got redeveloped. So for you, what's kind of the best stadium that you've been to? I mean, I might be able to guess from what you just mentioned. And what I'm really interested in, what's the worst stadium you've been to?
I think the best league stadium I've been to is quite a hard one. So, like I said, I've been lucky to go to some big grounds with travelling away with the Rovers. I think Derby County is definitely up there. That's a lovely modern stadium. Newcastle United I've been to with the Rovers as well in the Championship.
Oh yeah,
in that away stand, you know, you're so high up. It's just an absolutely humongous stadium. It's amazing. But I do think Derby County, I think, is probably the best stadium I've been to. The worst away ground I've been to. I'm going to probably say Nottingham Forest, which might surprise a few because it's a big ground. I mean, the game was fantastic because we ended up winning it with Boxing Day. It was fantastic, but the main reason I didn't like it was you were in a two-tiered away stand, but above you had home supporters. And you know, when they were throwing things down and all that, and I don't like that side of the game. That's purely the only reason I can pick that stadium out, to be honest with you. Nottingham Forest is the worst one.
I can imagine. I've not been to Forest. It was Notts County that I went to. They had a massive stadium at the time with, you know, playing it. I think we must have been playing League One, and there was, you know, it was a quarter full or something, and you actually drive past the city ground, isn't it?
Yes,
is it?
Yes.
Yeah. I was going to say Trent Bridge, but that's the cricket ground.
That's the cricket ground.
Yeah. But they're all within like.
Yeah, they are. They're very close. Very, very close to each other. Yeah.
That's definitely the sporting centre of Nottingham. Anyway. All right. So one last question. One last question to really establish your credentials as a football fan as well. You've got an unlimited budget. You can do anything you want. You know, you've got every agent's number that you can possibly need. Which single player do you dream of seeing in a Doncaster Rovers shirt?
This might sound a bit cliche, but I'm going to say Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh, yeah.
I know there's the whole Ronaldo-Messi debate, but to me, Cristiano Ronaldo, he beats Messi purely because he's gone everywhere. You know, he's done it in England, he's done it in Portugal, Spain, Italy. He's obviously had high success with his country, and Messi's just been at Barcelona and done really well at Barcelona. But for me, Ronaldo's gone everywhere and he's succeeded and he's done really well everywhere he's gone. So to me, definitely Cristiano Ronaldo. I think he's the best player in the world, just under James Coppinger. I
was going to say Messi wouldn't get in ahead of Coppinger. They play in the same position, don't they? So I don't think there'd be fit both of them in a team, would you? Surely,
no. Definitely James Coppinger over Messi. Definitely.
Oh yeah, nice one. Yeah, so thanks a lot for answering those questions. I will allow you to continue with the podcast. You have definitely established your credentials as a proper Doncaster Rovers fan.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, fantastic. So, without going back into the ancient history of Doncaster, as I've already mentioned the really bad times, but Doncaster are on a pretty they had a pretty decent season last year, I reckon, from the outside. How do you think like last season went for Doncaster?
Well, it was Darren Moore's first season. He came in quite late into the pre-season. obviously, I was disappointed with how the season finished with the whole COVID pandemic and everything. Obviously, quite understandable why it finished. But when you look at it, you think we could have just sneaked into the playoffs. We could have just, we could have caused a bit of an upset. So, we had a reasonable season. We beat Rotherham, which is always good when you beat Rotherham. A reasonable season. Could have been better, but obviously it got cut short. So we'll have to see what happens this season. Yeah.
The manager you mentioned there, Darren Moore, he seemed to have won a lot of sort of fans of. He was the West Brom. He kind of became the West Brom caretaker manager in the season they got relegated and got them playing some good football. And and then he kind of seemed to get the short end of the stick and got fired only a few months into the sort of West Brom's next season. Has he kind of continued that sort of attractive football mentality?
I believe so. I think we play some really nice stuff at times. I think he's well liked by the supporters as well because he's a former Doncaster Rovers player, obviously.
Yes, yeah.
But I watched the game against Bristol Rovers the other day, and every time we went forward, we just looked like we were going to score. We're playing, playing some really nice stuff. So he has continued that. Definitely has. Yeah.
But how did sort of the transfer? I don't know if it was a transfer window the summer. How did from the end of the season to the beginning of the season? How did your kind of squad develop then?
We signed one or two decent players, I think. And one that really stands out for me is Cameron John, who we had on loan last season. We signed him on a permanent deal. Very good, strong player. This might surprise a few Rovers fans, but I think the signing of Andy Butler coming back, he left at the end of last season before last, went to Scunthorpe. Didn't really work out for him then. He's come back. He's a local lad. He's from Doncaster actually himself. He's the Doncaster Rovers Bells ladies manager. And I just think the experience that he will bring to the side and his input will definitely help us, I think. Definitely.
Yeah, it's always good to get. There is any sort of new sign. I spoke of this about Hartlepool sort of in the pre-season at Hartlepool's level, the National League, but even let's be honest, even at the League One kind of level, you will get some, especially when you get players in on loan. You never really know how you get a youngster in on loan. You can never be sure if they are actually going to be able to kind of like work out well. And the guy you got from Wolves last season. So
we got a few on loan from Wolves. We got Cameron John and Ennis.
Cameron John, yeah. It's I think you've always got a slight unease because you can't be totally sure that they will, because it is proper football. It's not youth football. It's not reserve team football anymore.
I totally agree with you. Yes.
Yeah. So it is good that you've kind of had a season with them and then you manage to sign them again. That's always a good. It's always a good sign when that kind of happens and you get to bring them in. So going into the season then, and I know we're a few games into the season, so I don't want you to cheat. I want you to be honest. Like, what were your expectations of Doncaster this season? How do you think they do?
Before a ball was kicked, I thought playoffs. Definitely, I thought we could definitely achieve the playoffs. Just like I said earlier, we just fell short of achieving playoffs last season. I think we've. Another season under Darren Moore, he's strengthened his squad. He's very much, I think, his team now and his style of play. I definitely think playoffs would be a very reasonable achievement. Very, very, very achievable.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's we will talk a little bit more about sort of the state and the overall state of League One sort of a bit later. But how do you think then the season started for Doncaster? How happy are you with what have the results been so far, and how happy are you with them?
I'm very happy with how we started. We've only had one league defeat this season to Wigan, one at Charlton, which is a fantastic result. Absolutely hammered Bristol Rovers.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. Very, very happy. Got a tough game coming up on Saturday against Portsmouth, so we'll see how that goes on. But yeah, really happy with the season so far. Very happy.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, it is, and there's always that excitement of a potential sort of playoff push, and like you said, it's about being able to score goals, and you've already got sort of 8 goals in sort of your first 4 games, and it's always good when you've got a goal threat going forward. You you can always sort of like be, you can turn those like potential draws, like you said, Charlton away from home could be a tricky. Lee Bowyer's got a very, unsurprisingly, he's got a very tough tackling team, hasn't he, at Charlton?
Yes, he has, yeah.
Very tough team to beat, and that could easily be a draw, but you played well and you got to win there. That's wins away from home are always going to be important.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to get an away win. Definitely, they always against teams like I say, Charlton, where you're expecting to do well this season. It's brilliant to get results against them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So we've talked about Charlton. How about we sort of like just spread our kind of like scope a little bit wider, and we'll talk about sort of League One in general, because at the end of last season, me and Dave talked about the sort of the bottom end of the Championship, and there was some, not a phrase I like to use, but in quotation marks, big clubs were down at the bottom of the Championship. But if you look at League One, there are some historically big clubs who've basically been really badly run, and teams that have really ridiculous budgets and very big stadiums that are in kind of like League One. And it's one of the strangest leagues. Like if you sort of like look at the teams that are in there, like obviously for where I live and where Dave lives as well, plenty of people are very happy to see Sunderland in League One. You've got teams like Portsmouth in there as well. Ipswich have started the season very, very well. But there's some very, very big teams, and people who sort of only follow the Premier League will recognise a lot of the names that are currently in League One, and they're not in League One because of one bad season. They're in League One because they deserve to be in League One. So, how does it feel to be a well-run club that keeps within its budget, that doesn't splash lots and lots of money around? How does it feel to be in a league that's got these big, again in quotation marks, big clubs? Teams like Sunderland, for example, who dropped £4 million on Will Grigg in the middle of the season to try and push him into the playoffs even.
I mean, as a supporter, I personally think it's brilliant to see these big, to watch these big teams week in, week out, and to have them coming to little old Donny, as we mentioned earlier. The small club, and to be playing them and seeing players of that caliber, like you mentioned, Will Grigg at £4 million. To see them sort of players as a supporter, I think it's actually really, really good to watch. Obviously, it's not nice to see the financial state of some of these clubs, and you count yourself a little bit lucky as a Rovers fan, even though we don't splash the cash, and you think you'd want the board to spend a little bit more money sometimes on a big player like that. But it's an interesting league. It's a funny old league, and but yeah, it's great to see some of these big clubs with a lot of history come in and seeing them every week. Yeah.
So I'll just quickly, I'll throw a couple of I'll throw a couple of clubs that you've got like Burton Albion, Fleetwood, and like Northampton. They've got stadiums of like capacity of like 7,000, 5,300, like 6,900. Accrington Stanley as well, sort of just over 5,000 capacity, and then you've got like Ipswich, Portman Road, 30,000 capacity. Milton Keynes Dons, the stadium, the stadium there's a magnificent stadium, but 30,000 people, and then you also got the stadium of Light. To make it very clear, I'm saying stadium of Light. 48,000 people can get in there. But it's quite on paper. It does look like quite an uneven league. Do you think there's anything that kind of should be done to kind of like you said, you enjoy it, but it must, and obviously you're a very, very happy sort of Doncaster Rovers fan. They're a team that is well run and are happy to sort of like set their own boundaries and compete on their kind of level. But should something be done so that teams can't spend to get out of the league in the way that Sunderland have tried to do and failed? Is something like the dreaded Project Big Picture the answer, do you think, or a wage cap has been sort of suggested? I think it's been agreed for next season, has it?
Yeah, I believe it has. See, I don't really know, because, like I say, talking as a fan, to see these, like I mentioned, these big players coming in, it's brilliant. I don't think Project Big Picture is the answer, because even though they're on about filtering down some of the money down to the lower league, I do not think that's the answer. a wage cap,